Now we move on to our next news. Ukraine is urging clarity from Washington after being blindsided by the White House decision to hold some weapons shipments. Kyiv says it received no prior notice. The suspension affects key U.S.-made systems including Patriot missiles, Hellfires, and precision artillery. Experts warn that without them, Ukrainian cities could face deadlier Russian airstrikes. President Zelenskyy called for continued American support, adding that U.S. backing remains in both nations' interests. The decision has shocked Kyiv, prompting a rare summoning of a senior U.S. diplomat for explanation. Civilians fear a surge in Russian attacks as Moscow intensifies its assault, with June seeing nearly double the missile strikes compared to May. A senior Ukrainian military official told AFP that Europe is trying to fill the gap, but Kyiv remains seriously dependent on American weapons. The Biden administration had approved over $100 billion in Ukraine aid, including $43 billion in arms, but Trump has since pushed for peace talks with Moscow and cut back new deliveries. The Kremlin, meanwhile, welcomed the reduction, saying it could bring the war to an end. Residents in Kyiv fear the worst. Many see the halt as a test of America's commitment to democracy. Now we are joined by our guest for this discussion, Ruben Johnson. He's director at Asia Research Center at the Casimir Pulaski Foundation, joining us live from Warsaw, Poland. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. With missile strikes on Ukrainian cities already doubling in June, how seriously could the weapons pause increase civilian casualties, and are Europe's stop-gap measures realistically able to plug the air defense hole?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I appreciate the answer to talk about this question. There's no way to sugarcoat this. First of all, it's a disaster for Ukraine because the weapon systems which are being now halted from shipment just suddenly, it seems like almost arbitrarily, are the systems that they require the most. You had a news story a few moments ago about this deputy commander of the Russian Navy, who was a commander of a Russian Marine unit, who was killed along with his deputy and several others. He was killed in a HIMARS strike. That's been, one of the great weapons that the Ukrainians have had in their hands that has helped equalize the fact that they're heavily outnumbered by the Russians. And the Patriot missiles, not having them to be able to shoot down incoming Russian missile strikes, which are being targeted indiscriminately against civilian population centers. This just means so many more people are going to die. I don't understand this. I believe it is something that can only be described as a betrayal. And what I also don't understand is, if you've seen the reports in the last day or so, you'll see that not only are shipments of these missiles that would be sent from the United States, not only are shipments from the United States being held up, but there are Patriot missiles and HIMARS rounds that have been shipped from the United States. They're here in Poland. They're being prepared to be sent into Ukraine, and even those shipments are stopped. Really? Like, you're going to pick them up and send them back? You're going to send them someplace else? I don't understand. I hate to say this, but I have to really question the integrity and the intelligence of the people who are speaking on this issue for the administration. The Deputy White House press secretary yesterday said that this decision had been made because it was necessary to, quote, put America's interests first, unquote. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean Ukraine losing or Russia winning, which they're both the same thing? Does that mean that those outcomes are more in America's interests than continuing to arm Ukraine? Really? So I'd love to have someone explain this to me.
And Ruben, building on that, what message does Washington's sudden suspension of this precision artillery deliveries send to allies and adversaries, and how might it reshape Kyiv's battlefield? You've already kind of touched down on this, but on to you.
There was a former, very famous American diplomat, Henry Kissinger. And in the 1970s, when he was negotiating the end to the Vietnam War, he had this very famous saying. He said, "It's always more dangerous to be America's friend than America's enemy." And we keep proving that over and over and over. I don't understand why we want to consistently prove the accuracy of his statement from more than 50 years ago.